You're obviously not the normal sort of accounting type, you know.
No. I'm a recovering accountant.
Okay,
I used to be an accountant. Now I have my life back.
Okay. So basically, as you can see, I'm sitting here with Troy from Troys Bookkeeping. We're here today to talk just a little bit about business startups, first of all, and the bookkeeping that you need to do. Now, obviously, you need to get an accountant. You need to have a tax agent when you've got a small business, all of that sort of stuff. But those guys are pretty expensive.
They are. Well, there's a place for an accountant and a bookkeeper when you're starting out a business. So what I believe is an accountant's there for planning and for progress.
Yep.
A bookkeeper helps you with the actual processing of your business during the year.
Yeah, so all the recording and all the
recording, the transactions, the numbers, the figures.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not really an extra expense. It's kind of like you need to get all this information together, and then what do? You can just go, here you go, to the accountant.
Well, you can hand the accountant a big bucket of mess at the end of the year and then give them a cheque for $5,000 as well. Or you can work with a bookkeeper through the year to keep on top of things. And the biggest benefit out of that is that you actually know where your business is at all year long, instead of just at the end of the year.
Yeah, so by you actually doing your own bookkeeping, I guess that's where the benefit comes in, because you know what's happening in your business.
That's right.
I guess it comes in tracking your business as well. What sort of what do they need? Do they need software? Do they need Excel?
Well, look, even people that are just starting out in business, the number of times where I've heard people say, I've been in business for a couple of years, I should probably talk to an accountant now. And I just have pictures of these bags of receipts just sitting there piling up, and the massive cheque that it's going to cost to get it sorted out. But these days there's software available from $5, $10 a month. So for $120 a year, you can have software that will track every transaction that goes through your bank account, and it'll pick up all of that stuff, so that when you're working with a bookkeeper, or even if you want to do it yourself, about 80% of the work's done for you for about $10 a month, from $10 a month.
I've got a customer, I'm coming to you and I'm saying I'm just setting up a business. Well, I am actually just setting up a business.
We'll talk. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, we are talking.
Yeah, that's it. It's working already. So it's a case that I've come to you and said, I'm just setting up a business. What would your response, or how do you find out what you need out of your customers? What are the questions you're going to ask?
Okay, so I've found through working with people in business of different sizes over the last few years, there's about 5 questions. It doesn't matter what size business you have, it comes down to these 5 questions. So really, are you registered for GST? Whether or not you need to be is a different conversation, but whether or not you are registered for GST, do you or will you have employees? Do you actually send invoices to clients? So some people have an online retail store, so they don't need to send invoices to clients, and so that can have an impact as well. Some businesses, if they're already existing, if they have something in place already. But the biggest question is, what is it that you actually want to achieve, and what information do you really want to get out of the system that you put in place?
Okay, so when you're talking about the information, these programs that you're talking about, if I had to go to a bank to try and get a loan or look at an investor, and the first question is, well, how much money you make?
And it's not just how much money's left in the bank, it's how much money you've actually made in the business. Even the $10 a month software has the same reports in it as the $70, $80, $90 a month software does. That higher end software has more functionality around the employees, GST, etc.
Okay, so when you say more functionality, what do you mean by that?
So for $10 a month, you can't track paying of employees. There's super pay-as-you-go withholding, hours, timesheets, all that sort of stuff. It's a little bit more complicated than that. What money goes into the bank account, what money comes out of the bank account, and where does that get allocated? So every month, you're paying your Telstra bill, so that's clearly going to be phone all the time. If you're going to Caltex or 7-Eleven because you're on the road all the time, that's predominantly fuel. So those repetitive transactions, you just set up rules. So every month it goes to the account that it needs to go to, and then you're just dealing with what I call exception accounting. So it's only the stuff that's out of the ordinary and doesn't happen very often.
Okay, so you mentioned accounts a couple of times. How many accounts would a business need?
I've actually seen a business with a 6 3-page profit and loss that had over 130 accounts on it.
Okay.
I asked them if they had any idea how to read that, and they went, not a clue. So, to be honest, I would suggest most businesses would use between 10 to 20 accounts throughout the course of the year. And that's all you need. You don't need to overcomplicate it, because you need to be able to understand what the reports and what those figures actually mean, so that you can use them to make decisions in your business.
So when you say, businesses like that, what sort of size business are we talking about here?
Well, look, even any Australia recognises businesses under $2 million turnover as small businesses.
Okay, I'd like that.
Yeah, me too. That's pretty big for me. But like what I call micro businesses, so solo entrepreneurs, owner operators, mum, dad, this sort of stuff, they really only need 10, 15 accounts. It's the same stuff. They do the same thing all the time. It's just repetitive. And the bits that are a bit, is this personal or is it work related? It's easy enough to come up with that if everything's segmented into the right areas in the first place.
Okay, so
software takes care of a lot of that.
So when you've got the different accounts set up, it actually helps you you can put a certain amount of money in each account and allocate budgets and those. So is that why you would set up different accounts?
Okay, so that's like bank accounts, but each line on a profit and loss, they're actually referred to as accounts as well.
Yep.
So that's a little bit confusing for a lot of people. We get it in our accounting brain because it's drummed into us from the time we start.
You can see why I'm here talking to him.
That's it. So look, it's a good idea to have multiple bank accounts though. You have to be disciplined with it. But what I normally suggest to people, especially if they do have GST and payroll, and if they're trying to save up or have money for marketing, is to have a secondary account and start putting money that they transfer from the general bank account into that secondary account.
Okay.
But I can talk about accounts on the profit and loss is a completely different.
Well, that's it. Well, I think that one of the things, first of all, is we've already identified. If you're going to go into your accountant and you start talking about your accounts, you're probably thinking your bank account, but something
we
that
may not be.
The bookkeeper that's already pointed out to me that, well, that's a different thing. So that's just an example of when you're setting up a business and you're getting into business. A lot of people don't understand the requirements, and I guess that's something that you seem like I said, not the ordinary bookkeeper, not the ordinary accountant. You've told me that you don't plan to be, and you plan to make people more comfortable.
That's right.
Do you find that people are, when they come and they ask questions, they're a bit afraid to ask questions like that, difference between accounts?
They're afraid of asking the question. They're also afraid of how expensive asking the question is going to be. So they generally don't ask the question. And look, that's a big deal for somebody who's starting out in business. To sit in a room like in an overbearing accountant's office and you're a little bit, should I ask this question, and you're paying $300 an hour for the privilege. No, I'll just deal with it at the end of the year. Just let the accountant deal with it. I prefer to just sit down with someone who's just starting out a business. Just sit down, have a chat for an hour, work out where you're at. What are you looking for? How much do you want to do? How much do you not want to do with regards to this? And we just work together on, so I can look after it for you, or I can help you, I can show you, I can educate you, I can train you, and I'm always here to ask questions and bounce ideas off of as well. So it's not just pay me. It's about changing the conversation, so it becomes more about you getting value out of the relationship with me, instead of just seeing it as this huge cost once a year.
So you can actually make the money.
That's the idea. Identify where they can save money and keep money in the business, so they can grow the business instead of buying a new Mercedes or a beach house.
Well, they want that as well.
I'd like that, but for me, I'll get there eventually. But it's not just about my fees. It's about as if I can support a new business owner to grow their business, then my business will grow as a result of helping them in their business.